Hey y'all, welcome back to our continued conversation with Marty Raybon of the band Shenandoah here on the Boys and Me podcast. Well, hey y'all, let's get right back into it. First off, because you guys know a thing or two about being in iconic bands, I'm going to ask you guys some questions about the realities of being in a band versus maybe being a solo artist, you know, the advantages, challenges, and lessons that come with sharing the spotlight.
Okay.
So first up, during the 90s, did it ever feel like bands were fighting an uphill battle compared to solo artists?
I think the misconception, even within the industry, is that bands competed against bands, and we didn't. We competed against everybody.
Right. Yeah, you're just going after a slot on radio.
Yeah, because there was a kinsmanship with the bands instead of competing against. Because, you know, I felt anytime we toured with you guys, with Exile,
the Oaks,
Alabama,
stuff.
there was this camaraderie. And that's maybe a misconception as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And they were beginning to be a little more open to bands. In the 80s, it was really hard. You had the Oaks, and that was kind of it. The Oaks and the
Alabama,
Stattlers.
you know,
and then
Alabama
began changing
the
everything.
door wide
Yeah,
open.
they sure did.
Alabama kind of opened the door for all of us.
Yeah.
Self-contained bands.
Yeah.
You know, and just being openly and honest, and maybe somebody wants to hear this, maybe somebody don't. You know, they'd always look at the lead singer. They always wanted to lead, but you know that was the same in rock bands.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to a rock artist, as opposed to a rock band, it was always the lead singer that was getting all the chicks or whatever. Now I wasn't getting all the chicks, but what I'm saying is that you know a lot of times you know where a lot of unrest or whatever would be, you know, well man, let's get Marty to do it. Well, you know, Marty ain't, you know, he ain't the band.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I'd get a little bit of that every once in a while. So, fellas, look, get out there and do it.
Yeah.
You know, just, man, come along. Well, I don't want to go out there and sign, but bro, if you don't want to get out there and sign, then don't go out there and sign. But now don't blame me because that's what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and other things. And then when people, you know, do an interview, well, I'm not getting up no 5:30 in the morning to do no interviews.
Right.
Well, okay. Well, man, can you get Marty over here about 6 o'clock? Sure, I guarantee he'll do it. You know, you know, and everybody's bunked up, and you know, and then, you know, by the time they get up, you done 3 interviews and stuff. And so you get there at the show that night, and that radio and the people that they brought it. Man, where's Marty? But, you know, they want to see you in it. Well, they would have wanted to see you if you'd have got up. You know, and it's that kind of thing. And so, you know, which now look, now let me say this in all honesty. That was never, ever bad enough to make a riff or a tiff between us. But there were times, you know, that there was a little friction about that. It didn't bother me, but it bothered some of the other fellas.
Well, and here's what you got to know from being in a band and not being a lead singer. The reality is if you don't have a great lead singer, you are already in big trouble. And I'm sitting with 2 of the best right here. The second they open their mouths, you have no doubt who's singing. And they care about the music. They care about what's going on. And sure, the lead singer is going to get more attention. Should it go to the keyboard player?
No.
Obviously.
No.
But you got to have a great lead singer. That's part of the thing. And I always looked at it like when people start squabbling, I'm like, you better make sure there is pie before you start worrying about the size of your slice of it.
Yeah, man.
Because if there ain't no pie, I don't care what your slice is.
Bro, but man, pick the hill you want to die on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I mean, seriously. I mean, you know, but man, get the things that's really important. Go on with it.
Go out there and have fun.
Speaking of, you said radio, like, do you guys ever feel like the radio program directors maybe viewed bands differently than they did solo artists?
I never felt that.
Okay.
I didn't.
No, I don't think we did either.
Now, do you think that fans connect differently with bands than they do with solo artists?
Well, I wouldn't know. I would only know the way they connect with us.
I was fixing to say, I could only address it from our angle.
Yeah.
I think if anybody likes anybody, and maybe this came from the Beatles, but they were always so good at everybody knowing every one of the names of the Beatles.
Yeah.
That when somebody would name George or somebody, I'm in love with Paul. Or I'm in love with, everybody, I love Ringo. They were so good about everybody knowing their name.
Yeah.
And so I think as far as a joint effort for the Beatles, that's just who they were as a conglomerate. Mm-hmm. And everybody knew them as the Beatles. I don't know that radio ever personalized, and I don't know that crowds ever did once they liked somebody.
Yeah.
There was just more people to like.
Yeah.
And but now they did have their favorites. I brought Donnie Allen some cookies. Can we have it? No, they're Donnie's. I baked them for him.
Right.
Said okay. Then once I got on the bus, Donnie, you can have a few of them cookies. And by the time Donnie got around to them, there wasn't no cookies.
Gone,
That's happened to you all the time,
so,
right?
You don't bring stuff. When it hits that front door, it's public domain.
It's community. Yeah. That's right.
It sure is, but I don't care where you put it in a cabinet or whether you hit it in your bunk.
Yeah,
I seen you bring it on in.
There's cookies on here
What you
somewhere.
doing at Brownie?
Yeah.
What band of the 90s do you think deserves even more recognition than they got?
Marty's already mentioned them, Desert Rose Band.
Okay.
Which they were very cool. There was a California country thing, but then, you had some of the best guitar playing in the world with John Jorgensen.
Absolutely.
And
And
Herb
some of the best
Peterson.
steel playing.
Oh, my gosh, JD.
Geez.
And Steve Duncan on drums. They were incredible. And then you had Chris Hillman, who's a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I think the Titus Band, the first time we ever saw them, I went, man, we got to practice. It's Exile.
Oh,
Yeah, Exile.
Exile.
Boy, those boys
Man,
have some
Getzman
harmonies,
on the drums.
man.
I mean, my man would just play, and then every now and then he'd go, pa, pa, pa.
Yeah.
But it
And
was
those
just
counted when he did it.
Yeah, and they meant something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exile was, I thought they were so good. And,
And
so
they
tight.
still sound incredible.
Man, I loved and still do to this day, Restless Heart.
Oh, man. Another great band.
Just going to be honest with you, they was nobody more aggravated or put out with them more when they decided they couldn't do this because they couldn't get along with than me.
Yeah.
I mean, it aggravated me. I got to thinking, bro, y'all ain't went through half the stuff. We've been sued for over $2 million for a name that we didn't even want. We've been drugged through the courts in Las Vegas. We've been drugged through the courts in Tennessee and through New England and all that other kind of stuff. And you can't get along with each other.
Yeah. You can't
And
write
man,
a
the
bus
greatest
together.
and the great music that y'all have done,
yeah.
And
I'm with you.
I just never could get that, and one of the, because I always thought that, man, you talking about polished,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
man, them guys, the bluest eyes in Texas,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Let the Heartache right. I mean, they just
Yeah.
they killed it.
Yeah.
We'd go out and we'd do shows together, and that, man, I'd sit there and, man, I'd watch and I'd get to thinking, man, them son of a guns, man, they as good live as they are
They
on
sure
a
are.
record.
They were.
We used to talk
They were.
about that every time we worked with them.
Yeah.
They sounded incredible.
And man, they were too. I'm telling you.
Now, if a young artist was coming to you for advice today and they said that they wanted to be in a band, what is the first thing that you would tell them?
Wow. Are you sure? Are you really sure you want to be in a band?
Yeah. Well, I'd have to say that, look, first off, you got to get 5 or 6, 4 like-minded people. I mean, that's not anything, I think. I think bands are formed and not picked. And somebody said, well, so-and-so put this band together. They done this and that.
Yeah.
Okay, but how long did they last?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think bands that last and they're guys that have come together because they got a camaraderie. Look, it's tough enough as it is. Look,
I think like-minded is the best.
It's huge. It's huge.
I think that's the number one.
Yeah.
You said it,
yeah,
like-minded.
I got 3 boys. And, everybody always asks, do your boys play?
Yeah.
Man, are your boys going to follow in
Yeah.
my boys play in the praise and worship bands at church, and I wouldn't have them any other place.
Yeah, yeah.
Now they all got jobs, but that's where they play music. And my boys have never came to me and said, Dad, I want to pursue this a little bit more.
Yeah.
I've never seen that in their interests. I've never seen where they wanted to do that. And that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
You had better want to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because if you don't, it's going to make you and everybody around you one of the most miserable group of people that you have ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, either you love it and you're doing it for the reasons you're doing it,
yeah,
or everybody around you, you ain't even going to be able to stand yourself, and nobody around you is going to be able to like you either.
Yeah.
And I literally believe that I don't think bands can be formed. I think they need to come together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're people of a like-minded spirit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say, man, I like this guy. Man, you digging this?
Yeah.
And man, you digging that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and last but not least, why do you think Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah are still touring and drawing such big crowds in 2026? What do you think it is that's made y'all endure?
I think it's a connection to those songs. It's like you were saying. I think a song sometimes is like time travel. You hear it, and I'm immediately back to where I was when I first heard a song. And Shenandoah has a ton of those. We've been blessed to have some of those where we're kind of like, we're traveling companions for people. The music has become that. And I feel that way about when I listen to other artists. And I think that's why stuff lasts, is because you're like, oh man, I'm connected to that.
I think what people, whether they ever say it or whether they don't, I think people want to see a genuineness of what somebody's doing. And one rule of fact, and to get to that place is to hear this comment from somebody. I went and seen so-and-so, and man, they mailed it in.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
My gosh. Yeah. Man, I paid $85 for that ticket, and I could have stayed home and listened to a record.
Yeah.
That was the dead, dullest, lifeless thing that I'd ever seen in my life. And I think the entertaining, trying to show everybody that we're not just willing to play you the songs.
Do you care about being there?
Yeah.
And what we want to do is we want to prove to you.
Yeah.
Look, we love doing what we do. This is what we do. And we want to get you as involved in this show as we can absolutely get you. The way I feel about it is look, for 90 minutes or 2 hours, however long we play, if we can get people hooping and hollering and singing along and having a good time, at the end of the evening, they'll feel like that they were a part of a show instead of sitting and watching one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that you can always sense and you'll get is when somebody will make that statement to you. Man, I went to go see so-and-so, and my gosh.
Yeah.
I'd never bought that ticket.
Yeah.
That's dead, dull, and lifeless. I tell you what, I'll never go back.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and I'll say this from what I know of Sawyer Brown, and I'm not on every date that they do, and they're not on every date we do. But the one thing that I will say about, I know that they give an effort to entertain people, and that's what we try to do. And I think that's what people genuinely pick up on. Mm-hmm. You're not trying to take advantage of anybody in a ticket-holding seat. You're not trying to pull anything over on anybody. I mean, you're singing about half hoarse, or you're sick.
Yeah.
You don't feel good that night, and it happens. And you still get up, man. And you can tell that guy's, man, he's running fever.
They don't care as long as you care, as long as you want to be there.
Yeah, that's good. They don't care as long as they know you. Yeah, I got you, man. I dig it.
And something else I think that I know y'all all have in common is your faith, and that has really helped, to keep everyone grounded, and I think has significantly impacted the longevity of both Shenandoah and Sawyer Brown. So can I ask you guys a couple questions about that?
Sure.
Great. So looking back, what kept you grounded when your careers were just taking off?
Man, for me, it was my mom and the faith that she had instilled in me. And I remember early on, one of the biggest decisions you have to make, we were going to get a beer sponsorship. And the management brought it in, and I said, no, we can't do that. And they'd worked on it. It was $1 million deal, a big deal. And you know, this was in the 80s. And I said, man, I can't do that. And he said, give me one reason why you will not do this. I said, I'll give you 3. I said, first thing is, I've never tasted beer in my life. Never brought a bottle of beer to my lips. Said the other thing is my mom would be ashamed of me. And I said, the third thing is, I said, my goal is to get to heaven. That's it. That's my goal on earth, is to get to heaven. And the last thing that I want to see when I get there is all the damage that was done because I did this. I promoted something that what I know causes harm. I don't want to see that movie.
Yeah.
So that's early on. You do got to make those decisions.
Well, there's one right and wrong. You don't have this is okay if you do it in the music business, but you can't do this in real life. No, there's one right and wrong. My parents brought me up a certain way, grew up in church in a certain way. I was not going to bend those rules simply because I had this job that everybody went, well, you can get away with that if you're in the music business. No, there's still one right, one wrong. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we first started, I was a hell-bound pagan. I'm telling you, I'm not lying to you. Man, I'd love to say what you did, but son, there was a many of them they were dead soldiers all over my apartment. And what I mean by that is you know, beer bottles and cigarette butts and everything else. Yeah, I mean, I'm an old block bricklayer. I didn't learn just to drink on the construction sites that I worked on. Man, I grew up playing bluegrass music at the bluegrass festivals, and they was coolers. You know, people had you come over. You know, you come by the motorhome, come by the camper over here. We're going to have a jam section. We got a cooler open over there. Oh yeah, well you knew what cooler open meant. Well, I can tell you what's a fact. I don't care how long they want us to play, but they got a cooler open. Right. You know, we ain't got to buy it. You know, so anyway, and fun becomes habit. And before it's all over with, I mean, man, I like to drink. I mean, I really did. In fact, I just downright loved it, and could drink as good as anybody could. And well, I'll put it to you this way: I don't know that there was anybody that ever loved it better than I did. And so, you know, man, we in the business where where there's drinking and carrying on and all that other kind of stuff. My goodness sakes alive! Now I was raised right. I just didn't do right. Look, I was taught those things and all that kind of stuff. Man, when I got to Nashville, son, I'd forsaken a lot of things that I'd been taught. And man, it wasn't until we started in '88 is when we had our first record. Went to the studio in '87, but '88 is when we had our first record, and I wasn't saved till March the 15th, 1991. And up until then, I mean, it was brutal. And, that catches a lot of people by surprise. And they go, really? And I did. But glory to God, God had his way, and I'm grateful that he had his way. I really am. I'm grateful because of my kids. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful because of my wife, but more than anything else in the world, I'm grateful because of a loving God that everybody should see can change people.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Listen, what was lost in the garden was redeemed on the cross. You know what Christ did at Calvary's cross made no difference what was lost in the garden. He was the second Adam as we know it. And, well, I mean, not as we know it, he was. And with him being the second Adam, God made provision for us so that we wouldn't have to die in our trespasses. It didn't catch God by surprise that Adam and Eve didn't do what they were supposed to. You know, I'm just grateful to God that he literally was willing to overlook my faults to meet my needs.
Yeah, man.
You know, and I like the way Paul put it in Romans 5 and 8. He demonstrated that. Even yet, while I was still a sinner, he died for me. And so while I was putting my big boy britches on trying to be in the music business, and that's all I strove for, that's all I was striving for, that was all I was wanting, that was all I was yearning for. I don't care what it is, I'll do anything but come short of selling my soul, but I want to be a country music star. And I'm grateful unto God that he understood that. But there's one thing that I have learned in the 30-something years that I've served God, that the platform that I yearned for and the platform that I was after really isn't the platform that God put me on anyway. It was the platform to share the gospel and to be able to reach people that way than it ever was being able to deliver a song or to be able to perform in front of people.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Anyway, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you this. Has your definition of success then changed from when you started out in music to now?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
See, I could have just said what that change was, and people go, what? Well, what's he talking about? When I realized, seriously, when I realized that Christ was more important to me than anything else in the world, when I realized that look, nothing was ever going to work in my life until God did. Mm-hmm. And until I gave God that opportunity, and not like I'm allowing God. Because see, the wonderful thing, we talked about the garden a while ago. Well, in that garden was a tree of good and evil and of knowledge. And God said, of all of them, don't you partake of that one. Well, he gave us free will. See, I could have either or not. But glory to God, I'm grateful that I did. Mm-hmm. And that is receive him as Christ. And from that point on March the 15th, 1991, I have literally never been the same since. Mm-hmm. It was the only time that I could ever say in my life that anything changed in me. Listen, bells and whistles didn't go off. Nobody shot any streamers. I didn't hear no sirens. I just believed when I asked the Lord, when I fell down on my knees, in a drunken stupor, by the way, when I fell down on my knees and when I met the invisible God that I'd heard about all my life, and I asked the Lord to come into my heart, something happened. God changed me. I'd literally been under conviction for 2 solid years. I'd run from God as hard as I could run from him. And the reason why it was, because see, I'm a type A personality. Listen, it's either whole hog or die for me. Right. Man, don't you set a carrot cake up there for me and just tell me I'm going to get a slice of it. Now, bro, you told me that was mine. Well, yeah, but I'm not planning on you. I'll be dead blame you said it was mine. Now, if I want to eat half of it, I can eat half of it. So anyway, knowing good and well that God in and through me, and look, I didn't know all 12 books of the Bible. 12 apostles. I didn't know all 66 books of the Bible. Something happened that day, and I literally believed that for once in my life, I felt clean. I would give anything in the world if I felt that clean again, like I did that day. It was like I didn't have a spot or a blemish on me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I'd give anything in the world to tell you that, I've been without sin since but if I did, I'd be lying to you. And I have no plans in doing that, And In fact, it's even made me a better person all the way around. I don't want to lie to you. As much trouble as it gets me in. Police pulled me over the other day, goes, "You have any idea how fast you were driving?" I said, "Man, I don't." "What was I doing?" He said, "You were going pretty quick." And I said, "I believe it."
Do you ever feel like there was a moment where God was clearly opening a door or closing a door in your career?
I think for me, it was both. I talked about, when we were on our way to Nashville, we'd saved up our money. I had $600. And we get to Gainesville, and I go into Wendy's, and I run into the bathroom and I left all my stuff. I brought it in out of the car so nobody would steal it. And I ran into the bathroom, and I come out, and somebody had taken all my money, everything I had. So I go over, collect home to my mom. And I said, "I'm coming back home." I said, I don't think the Lord is meant for me to go. And I told her what happened. And she said, "Yeah, you could look at it like that and come on back home. Or you could look at it as Satan trying to keep you from doing something great."
Yeah.
She said, "Get back in that car." She said, "I'll wire you $100 tomorrow. Go to Nashville." So that was what I thought that a door was closing. But my mom showed me that it was an opening.
Yeah. In mine, I was raised right. It's like I said a while ago. Look, I was raised right. I just didn't do right. And I'm so grateful that I came to the place that I did when I did, even being in the condition that I was in, to recognize the goodness of God and literally stepping back and watching God work in our career.
Well, you wouldn't be here today spreading the gospel on this podcast.
Exactly. There's no way.
If he hadn't opened those doors.
Mm-hmm.
And to watch God move in and through that, and through some of the stuff that was of no, I mean, when we were getting sued over the name, honestly, I never blamed nobody. I just thought, man, Rick Hall and CBS could have done a better job at maybe a trademark search or something.
Right.
But they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't change, you know what? It didn't change the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't change anything in the world that was going to change anything in the world. So, I think you either decide how you want to handle life's decisions, life's turmoils, life's discussions, life's heartbreaks. It's life on life. And you either decide to live life and live it to the abundance of how you can live it, or you can live it to a point that you can find everything wrong with life. Man, how many people do we know in the music? Man, it just everything just sucks.
Yeah.
Man, that was damn good record. That's good. I don't know why in the world that people didn't like that record. What do you think about the record? Yeah. Brother, don't ask me that. Well, come on, tell me about that. Well, I'm not going to tell you because I don't like it no more than they did. You asked me. You know what I mean? Everything sucks. Yeah. And either you can take it like that, or look, you can either get bitter or get better.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that's just really kind of where it's at. You can either take it like it is, or just march with it.
Yeah.
And I just assume march.
Okay, we'll end on this one. When all is said and done, what kind of legacy do you hope Shenandoah and Sawyer Brown leave behind?
Well, music, I just hope we left behind joy. Just sheer joy. And that's it. I don't need to be anything greater than that, because there's nothing greater than that.
Yeah, I feel so choked up right now I can barely talk. But yeah, it's joy. And that at the end of this, did we do with this what God wanted us to do with this? It's not going to be about us. It's going to be about handing it back to him and saying, here's what I did with what you gave me. I hope this is okay.
Yeah. He and he alone. Yeah. Not God and.
Yeah.
Jesus and.
Yeah.
Christ.
Period.
He alone. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I don't know that I got anything to add to that. I think they said it very well.
Well, guys, this has been an amazing podcast episode.
It has.
I don't know how
And the first one with a guest.
First one with a guest,
right?
and I'm like, and we're never going to top this one.
Yeah.
Well, man, bring the old flagship back.
Marty, thank you so very much for sitting down with us today. This has been a true treat and blessing.
Here.
Good Sawyer Brown Nation, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
We don't know why he does that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man that raised me.
What wasn't Carol Burnett? Wasn't she the one to go?
Yeah.
Like that scene
right,
that happens to her daughter or something like that?
Yeah.
You know, we ought to start making stuff up like.
Yeah. like we're a third base coach. Yeah.